just sang Wabash Cannonball. I wasn't even on the screen. What's up, Big 12 Nation? It's Tuesday night in America, and it's also approaching the end of the year for school teachers. So, things that we're doing the best we can. That can mean only one thing. It is time for another edition of your favorite YouTube-centric Big 12 football show. That's right. It is the one, it is the only, the biggest 12 with me, your host, Clint Foster, a man who recently was hailed on social media as strange. I'll take it. I love my fans. But we got a great show for you tonight. It is Kansas State night, ladies and gentlemen, on the biggest 12. We're talking all things Wildcats. Every man, every topic is a Wildcat here tonight on the biggest 12. But before we get into any of that and my fantastic guests, I need something from you. I need you to subscribe to the show at Big 12 VOCFB. There it is right there. Like and subscribe. Help us grow this thing. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and we need you to make that happen. So help a brother out, okay? And also, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and at Clint Foster Creations. That's my personal YouTube channel. I have a new sketch written. Okay, you haven't seen one in a while because I've been working on that documentary, but I have a new sketch written. I'm hoping here in like 2 weeks, I might be able to put that on tape for y'all. So subscribe there so you can see it. Make sure that you connect with the Voice of College Football on Twitter and Instagram, and find us on your favorite audio platform of choice. We're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're on all of the places. And also, if you haven't already, make sure that you're taking time to check out the new Voice of College Football website. There it is in all its glory, vocfb.com. You're going to see every day's show schedule, all of the latest news and discussion. I mean, this is a place that you want to be. And, hey, everyone's talking about Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson. There we go. We got a story about that in the top headlines. So make some time to head over there and do that. So without further ado, let me bring in my two oh-so-fabulous guests, both friends of the show. You know them, you love them. When we're talking about Wildcats, we got to have these two folks on. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Fitzgerald and John Grove. Men, how is your Tuesday going?
Good. I can't keep track of what day of the week it is. I need sports to understand the days, and I need a real job, one that I don't work every day with anyhow. But other than that, I'm old and fine.
John, how you hanging in there? You got finals coming up?
I am young and exhausted, and I got all the finals out of the way. That's a good sign, but like Fitz, there's no sports going on. I have a hard time keeping track of dates. I just had to ask my dad what day it is. As well, it's a tall order trying to keep up these days. I swear.
Yeah. Well, before we get into anything Kansas State related, we got to talk about Kansas's new stadium. And, John, you had a beautiful descriptor for this thing on social media. Would you like to share it?
I don't know where I would share it. I'm still kind of used
just what it was
to
that you said.
Technology. The new stadium over at KU, it looks like a Velociraptor enclosure, to say the very least. You got those high beaming lights over there, kind of symbols the kind of cage vibe a little bit. It's a weird stadium. It's certainly better than their recent problems in any way, but yeah, it's a lot of things going down with that. Several problems there with star bonds. Apparently, Fitz probably knows about this more than I do, but yeah, it's a tough hassle for them, to say the very least. I'll leave it at that.
I'm struggling to find an actual picture of it that looks nothing like the digital renderings. Here we go. This is more like what's actually happening over there. Not quite as beautiful as a lot of folks were hoping, but Fitz, what are your thoughts?
I don't mind it. The problem is it's not done.
Yeah.
They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars for 2/3 of a stadium. I truly believe, and they should have just gone to an off-campus location and built. Had everything brand new. You could build a whole football facility out there, and then you get some valuable campus space back. But nobody at Kansas would take my advice, which is probably smart. But I think it'll be nice. But the weirdness is the fact that they didn't rebuild the student section yet, and they can't rebuild that student section because they don't have the money, but they need to build that student section before they can build the gateway district, because you got to have that done to put in a hotel, or you can't get that done. That makes sense. They got to have an order originally, and now they've been told you got to finish the stadium before we can do the gateway district, which is what the star bonds are for. And that if it's just for that district, if none of that money is going to the stadium, it actually fits exactly what a star bond's supposed to be. But I'm not a big fan of star bonds. We've had some boondoggles here in Manhattan, Kansas. So it's I don't mind it. I think it's well, let's put it this way. It was so bad before.
Truly.
I mean, it's like it's better than putting a bow tie on a pig. But it does improve things. It really does improve things.
Well, I really do see that Velociraptor enclosure from this angle here that John was talking about. I need to pull up your tweet, John, so that the people can really see what it was that you were trying to say, because you had a perfect visual representation here. If I can get to it really quickly, that Austin Eckert certainly got a kick out of. Here we go. Close out my messages there and share it. From Jurassic Park 1, the good one, right? Here we go.
The best one.
Yes.
Here we go.
Like that Velociraptor enclosure, which, I guess theoretically a Jayhawk is not that dissimilar.
Well, we don't know where the Jayhawk came from.
It's an ancestry of some sorts.
Yes.
Just like every other bird.
They are related.
Except this one's different because it's like a hybrid of a blue jay and a hawk.
Well, he has kicky little boots as well, right? And he likes to fight.
He has buckles on his shoes, Clint. Like, what are we doing here?
He does have
buckles on his shoes.
All right, gentlemen. Well, as you know, and all of you out there in the internet sphere, we always love to start out an episode of the Biggest 12 with a fun game. Really, the theme of the previews this year has been trivia. So I've prepared some Kansas State trivia for you two gentlemen. Are you up to the task?
Oh, boy. Yes. That was a lie.
Do we want to go head to head, or do we want to compete as a team? Because we've done.
We got to compete as a team. Because
yeah, I agree. Compete as a team.
All right. So we're not feeling very confident.
I passed with student levels of K-State trivia. This might be a whole different beast I'm going up against.
Okay, well, I got 10 questions for you.
There's a possibility I'm suffering from dementia and don't know it because it's dementia. So if I totally mess this up, we'll all know.
So most of these are Kansas State football related. A few are Kansas State University related. And then I have 2 questions, I believe, in here that are just Kansas the state related.
Okay.
So we'll get started. First off, question number 1. What 2 Big 12 teams has Kansas State never lost to?
Has never lost to. Well, they never played Utah, so that has to be one.
Utah is one. Yes, never played Utah.
UCF.
That changes this year, by the way. And UCF, that's the other one. 2-0 against UCF. Very good, gentlemen. Nice. We're off to a rip-roaring start. I love that for y'all. Okay, we'll give you a little one here on your Kansas State trivia. We're super high tech here on the Biggest 12. All right. So, getting a little harder here. What Kansas State alum Herbert Dimmond famously invented what in 1941? Kansas State alum Herbert Dimmond.
That'd be the snooze button.
That is the snooze button. Yes. Use it every single morning. Fabulous.
Let's hope K-State too. Yeah, I'm not going to class.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be fine today. Okay. You ought to both know this one. So before Kansas State officially changed their name permanently to the Wildcats, they used a dog named Bosco as their mascot, as their on-the-field mascot. What kind of a dog was Bosco?
John, you should know this.
It was a black lab.
Bosco's a black lab. Yes, very good, very nice. Man, we're off to a great start here. By the way, and if this adds any extra motivation to y'all, I've only had one episode so far where they were 10 for 10 on trivia, and it was the Iowa State episode. Okay.
Oh,
so, Just a little more incentive here to try and
So
get all
this
these
is
right.
Trivageddon.
Well,
Okay.
Clint,
Yeah,
you
we're-
typically
Trivageddon.
have Brownie as a co-host. You probably just gave him the questions in advance.
I did not give him the questions in advance. You can go back and you can watch the episode. In fact, Brownie didn't answer most of them. It was Greg that answered most of them. Brownie was talking a big game and didn't know half of them. Okay. What famous civil rights activist spoke at Kansas State in 1867?
1867?
1867.
1867.
Well, it's got to
Oh,
be John
wow.
Brown, doesn't it?
But John Brown's a good guess. John, do you have a
no
guess?
idea.
Mm,
I think John Brown was already dead by
1867.
67, by the way.
That's way back
That's
when.
true.
That's way back when. I can't really put a
Yeah,
finger on it.
I was a freshman, but I don't remember.
Okay.
No idea.
So I'll give you a clue. It was a she.
Oh,
Woman civil rights activist.
It was
Oh.
a Sheila.
I'm never gonna get her name.
Women's suffrage. We're looking for
Yep.
women's suffrage.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
She had
John?
what was it? What was she known for? A hammer? No.
I'm out of
You're
luck with
thinking
this
of someone
one.
different, actually, Fitz.
Jeez.
You're thinking of someone different. Susan B. Anthony is the answer. Susan B.
Really?
Anthony
Oh my
spoke at
gosh.
Kansas State. Yes.
I would have
And she
never gotten that.
Yeah, she was trying to get Kansas to ratify women's suffrage. Kansas didn't ever get around to doing it until the 19th Amendment, but she was
Shocking.
speaking at Kansas State.
You know,
Yeah.
as someone who went to Susan B. Anthony Middle School, I should have known that well in advance.
There you go.
Oh
There
my
you go.
God, I never put that together. Oh, there we go. That's why they named it that.
So Iowa State has officially beaten y'all, but we'll see if we can get 9 out of 10. Right? We'll see if we can get 9 out of 10.
I'll drink.
This is another one that you should know. Okay, what was Kansas State's first ever bowl win?
That's easy. The Copper Bowl.
The Copper Bowl.
Copper Bowl against who?
Against my mom's Wyoming Cowboys. She was a
Wyoming,
trainer
yeah.
back in the day, too.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Nice. Nice.
I don't know if it was during the same time span, but yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
1993 Copper Bowl, yes, and smacked the Wyoming Cowboys. Okay, Bill Snyder. So we'll keep it in the the 90s and Bill Snyder era here. Bill Snyder had goals for success for the Wildcats to live by. How many goals for success did Bill Snyder have?
Historically, that number changed. It ended up at 16.
Yeah, 16. 16 is what I have.
It kept growing.
How did it change?
If he'd come back a third time, it would be your 24 goals of success.
He kept adding them.
Coaches kind of repeat, don't they?
Yeah.
Not really. No.
All right. Before Bill Snyder took over, as you know, Kansas State went through some tough times, right? TCU's been on that track too in the 70s. Okay. So from
was telling.
so from 1986 until Bill Snyder took over, how long of a losing streak was Kansas State on before 1989 when Bill Snyder came?
I need
There was one tie in there, but how long of a losing streak?
It wasn't a losing streak. It was a winless streak of 30 games.
Yes, 30 games before the win against who, by the way, do you know?
The winner was North Texas.
North Texas,
The
yes.
tie was Kansas in what we called the toilet bowl, because the game literally ended with a blocked field goal and this mad drunken scramble for a loose ball that didn't mean anything. Nobody was going to pick it up. They were just trying to have the last possession. I don't know, to have some, like, we had the ball last, we win. I don't know. That's how pathetic both programs were.
But turn it around.
Yep.
Okay, so Kansas State actually, so as we know, the Copper Bowl was Kansas State's second ever bowl game. Kansas State actually, though, did play in a postseason game in 1931 against Wichita State.
Oh, I don't even know this.
So this was their first postseason bowl, not a bowl game, but postseason game. What was the purpose of this postseason game against Wichita State? It was for a specific purpose.
1931.
Bragging rights.
I have no idea. I'm going to guess to prevent liquor by the drink in the state of Kansas.
Not a bad guess. John, do you have a guess?
It's got to be prohibition or something, doesn't it? They got this state.
I mean, it does have to do with something that was very much going on in Kansas and people in Kansas were concerned about.
Did it have to do something with kind of the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl around that time?
Yeah, so it was actually a fundraiser for the Great Depression, right?
Oh.
Now, I don't know how selling tickets to people suffering from the Great Depression is going to raise money for the Great Depression. But that was the stated purpose on Wikipedia, at least, right? That's why they held this game. It was a Great Depression fundraiser. I'll give you a point for that one, John. You guessed Great Depression, so
I appreciate that.
Yeah. We'll give you a point for that one. All right. Question number 9. Kansas State had a live Bobcat mascot from 1922 to 1978. What was the name of this Bobcat mascot?
His name was Touchdown the Bobcat. Unfortunately, died in the mountains. But got attacked by a porcupine. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that was Touchdown 1, correct?
Touchdown. Was that Touchdown 1, Fitz?
I don't know about that. They finally had to stop it because the poor Bobcats aren't social creatures.
Yeah.
So even though Kansas State football had a crowd of about 15,000 at that time, it was too many. Yeah. The Bobcats kept dying.
Didn't
it's
they
like
put
that poor tiger in Baton Rouge. It's like, why are you doing this to this poor tiger?
Well, the tiger's probably stoned.
Yeah, honestly,
all the time.
Honestly,
if I was in Baton Rouge, I would be.
Didn't they used to put the Bobcat in the glass and walk it around?
Yeah, they'd like push. Yeah, they're not meant for that. They're meant for sneaking in your chicken coop at night and not being seen.
Yeah,
right.
Kind of like John.
A lot like John. All right.
Charged.
So this is for 9 out of 10. This is for an A. Okay, if we can get this one right. And this is one of your state of Kansas trivia questions. What member of the Women's Christian Temperance Union began her movement of smashing saloons with a hatchet? This is what you were referring to in Medicine Lodge, Kansas.
Molly Hatchet Face. I don't know.
Not Molly Hatchet Face, no. But she's busting up. So she's busting up the bar. She's busting up all the whiskey casks with a hatchet. John, do you know her?
Not at all.
Carrie Nation.
Carrie Nation.
Carrie A Nation, actually. Carrie Nation. Hey, man.
Her friends called her Molly Hatchet Face.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Molly Hatchet Face. Yeah, Carrie Nation. 8 out of 10 ain't bad, gentlemen. That deserves a slow.
So we got 8 K-State trivia right. We
That's
tripped up on the 2 state trivia.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, can't win them all. Okay, so before we get rolling here, we got a quick message from the boss man. Here we go.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, gentlemen. So let's talk some 2025 Wildcats. Coming off of last season, I would label last season as a success, right? You didn't win a Big 12 championship. You didn't make it to the playoff, but I think it was a successful season. What's the vibe in Manhattan going into 2025? Are you pleased with how 2024 went? Where's your head at?
John, go.
I would have to say, in some ways, it was somewhat of a disappointment considering where you started initially at the season as a preseason ranked second place team in the Big 12, and you had a lot of firepower, a lot of buy-in talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and just several inconsistencies, several hurdles, just a whole lot of things kind of slammed K-State in a matter of moments during certain games. Really struggled against BYU late in the season against Iowa State. When one thing kind of goes down, then it becomes a little bit of a snowball effect. But K-State again, they were 8-4 in the regular season and beat records in the bowl game. I think they joined one of 4 Power 5 teams as one of the only teams with more than 9 wins per season. And Chris Kleiman mentioned after it was either after the Iowa State game or after the bowl game about how successful that was. It may have not been the right perspective from a K-State fan standpoint, but you look at kind of what's happening during what's happening during this offseason. I think the biggest storyline is how well K-State has held their line of roster retention. You know, they don't lose anyone in the spring portal, and even in the winter window, but departures didn't necessarily move the needle. And I suppose you got to give a lot of staff, you got to give a lot of credit to the staff, especially the GM and Clint Brown. This program's done an outstanding job keeping the core intact. It's a sign of a stable, well-run operation that K-State's locked in today's world with the NIL. I mean, there's real momentum. And you take a guy like Avery Johnson after the whole Tennessee Nico Lamalieva situation. It wouldn't have been a shock to see some tampering or offers come his way, but he did an entertainment, and it's big for the locker room to try and stay focused on the bigger picture. And they're still winning in the portal as well. They just added JP Nelson out of Penn State, and a guy who started several games as one of the top O-lines in the country. He was battling with All-Americans for reps, and all in all, I mean, this has got to be one of the cleaner, more productive off seasons K-State's had in a while, and we'll see if they're able to capitalize it here in 2025. There's a whole lot of expectations, certainly, without a doubt.
Man, he's good at what he does.
I appreciate that. You make me blush. You make me blush.
There's a lot of optimism around this season. And John touched on it. They did such a good job using NIL to retain roster. They just wouldn't let guys leave. Then they brought in talent around them. They beefed up the offensive line, which honestly was a problem last year. And, you know, when you got a true sophomore quarterback that is in his first season of starting, it had only started the bowl game from the prior season. That was his only start before then. Having him run around and get hit and those things kind of took its toll. But, you know, the key here is Avery Johnson. It just is. If your quarterback makes mistakes, which he did at times, he did it against BYU, he did it against Iowa State, or it's part of that, the mistakes, your whole team comes unraveled at times. And that's what happened in those games. But keeping him healthy, because as John mentioned, they started fast. Then Avery got banged up and kind of had to take him out of the quarterback run game, out of the offense, which was the foundation of a lot of what they wanted to do. So keeping him healthy is important. But I think K-State's going to be better on the offensive line. They're going to be much better at receiver. They continue to add tight ends. They got everyone back at tight end from an incredible crew, and a five-star Lincoln Cure coming in at tight end. So they go 5 deep at tight end. It's remarkable. They're going to be better with more depth at linebacker. D end is young and really exciting. And the back end of the defense, we'll see how they come along, but there's a lot of promise there. Again, that's another spot along with the offensive line where they leverage the portal. So there's a lot of optimism. And it really does start with that bowl performance against Rutgers and how people could see the difference in the offense with Avery having Dylan Edwards, having that kind of speed in the backfield, and what it did to a really big physical Rutgers defense. Was kind of a snapshot of what maybe they'll see in 25.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Dylan Edwards being back. It should be an explosive offense for sure in 2025. Let me ask you this, though. I mean, is Avery Johnson, we just had Iowa State night, is Avery Johnson beating the running back allegations? I mean, where would you rank him as a quarterback in this league?
I'll let you answer that first, Fitz.
I've got him up there, but, in terms of production, you can't go to BYU and lose. You can't lose, that has a young quarterback, and you can't lose at home to Arizona State, which had a young quarterback. So yeah, there's this league's got really good quarterbacks that are just maybe still underclassmen or becoming juniors, and it's remarkable to watch. But I think Avery Johnson's upside is enormous, and you could see him healthy in the bowl game, what his speed does, and how it opens up the defense. When you have to really worry about that, your eyes are forward a little bit more than on the receivers, and that fed into the passing game. He's got to cut down on his mistakes. He'll tell you that. He told me that. He's got to do a better job reading, and the coaches are saying he's doing a much better job before the snap, understanding what he's facing.
Yeah, I mean, Brownie likes to joke about it that he's not really a quarterback. He's just a glorified running back. But here's the numbers. I mean, 2,700 yards passing, school record 25 touchdowns. It's really just, like you said, Fitz, it's just the mistakes. It's just the turnovers.
Yep.
And, could have a very special, he was only a sophomore last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the crazy thing. He could have a really special junior and senior campaign. Well, let's talk a little bit more about that defense, though. What do you expect from the defense going into 2025?
John?
It's going to be a defense like Fitz mentioned. You got several experienced guys that are heavily anticipated to be coming back. A lot of in several guys that are willing to buy in. You take in a guy like VJ Payne. He was a major focus in Joe Klanderman's defense from last year in terms of developing into a larger leadership role. Not only has he grown and matured during the spring, but in terms of he's starting to become more of a vocal leader as well. But on top of that, you also mentioned the newer guys and guys that are wanting to make an impact early, such as Gunnar Maldonado out of Arizona. He's been very limited in the spring window. He's taken a leadership role on the team as well. On top of that, you also bring back Asa Newsom from injury. Both of them have been kind of rehabbing together as well. So several guys that were limited in terms of spring action. We'll see what happens there in terms of their progress. But you also got the inside of a defensive line returning a lot of familiar faces. Damian Olalio, Uso Siamalo back for another year. I believe Malcolm actually Fitz. I may need a roster correction here. Is Malcolm
Acorn Crowder?
Yeah.
Yep. He made progress. Yep. He's
making
there.
progress. Absolutely. So that's some good signs there. Secondary should be highly competitive as well. VJ Payne, Gunnar Maldonado, they've taken over as vocal leaders, but you also got some young guys that impressed during the spring with Wesley Fair, Jet Deneen, Jack Fabra. So you got several guys, even the young corners like Zayshawn Rich, Donovan McIntosh. They'll have a chance to step in and compete in the secondary. So kind of bottom line is that we're looking at a little bit of a younger, fresher, a younger, more, I guess a younger defense with more buy-in talent, but the leadership still shows in several key areas.
Again, if that secondary comes together, because there's a lot of young guys, they're going to start 2 young freshmen or young players, excuse me, that we saw last year at the bowl game play most of the game, and they really were good. So there's a lot of hope that these young guys, John just mentioned a bunch of the young safeties are really deep at safety, but they still brought in a guy like Gunnar Maldonado to go with VJ Payne. So they got some experience on the back end of the defense because the coaches knew in front of them, those guys had a lot of young dudes. And those young dudes include a group of about 6 defensive ends that have gotten overshadowed by Brendan Mott being defensive lineman of the year. And before that, K-State had Felix Anudike Uzama. It's turned into a position where they develop players. These young defensive ends are really promising. And it's just kind of I'm wondering who will be the guy that breaks out, because someone will and become the playmaker. But this defense is going to be young in many areas and really good if they come together on the back end. But that's the question. If you can slow down the passing offenses of this conference, you've got a chance. But that wasn't the strong point of this team last year towards the end of the season.
Forgive me if you already name dropped him, just jumping back to the offense. But I am interested to see if Caleb Medford is able to make an impact in Manhattan. This is a former TCU player, one who was really intriguing as a recruit and is now, bolstering that newly exciting receiver room there over at K-State. Do you have your eyes on any specific new receivers or folks that you think could be really big game breakers and surprise some folks?
You could look at several players, especially in the receiving position here with Jaron Tibbs from Purdue coming in, Jaron Bradley, who started at Texas Tech before playing last season at Boston College. Bradley's he's a big-bodied, physical wideout, something K-State's kind of lacked out on the outside for years. He's broke out as a true freshman at Texas Tech back when Matt Wells was at the helm there. He looks re-energized. Then you got Tibbs as well coming on strong late at Purdue, despite several of the miscues, kind of placed in a rough offensive situation there. But I'd imagine with more of a structure around him, he could be a real asset as well. But you pair those 2 wide receivers with Jace Brown, who just posted the best sophomore season by a K-State wide receiver since Tyler Lockett, and now you're talking about a legit 1-2-3 setup here. And that's rare in Manhattan. All right, fans are understandably cautious because K-State has had the receiver hype fall flat before, but this group looks different. It looks different to say the very least. And I'd say on top of that, you would just want to talk about the tight end pedigree that has just been bolstered in Manhattan. You have 4 guys on the roster that caught so many touchdowns last season, and now they bring in a 5-star in Lincoln Cure who might be used as a flex wide receiver, tight end hybrid. Boy, that's a lot of weapons in the passing game to say the very least. So, yeah, Avery Johnson, he has a supporting cast, and the backfield is really deep. And if K-State's able to really move the chains here and limit those third and longs, and chances are, I think that this offense has enough firepower to win the league. No doubt about it.
You go back to last season, Clint. You talked about the interceptions. I know one at Tulane, and there was another one I can't think where Avery gets the interception, but the receiver didn't run his route correctly. I mean, if you're supposed to go 6 yards down and cut across, you don't round it off. And yeah, so the timing was off. These receivers from last year, a lot of them didn't play through plays, didn't block down field right. They didn't do something that's kind of important to their job, which is called catch. They're good at drop. They weren't good at catch. And this group seems, you mentioned Tibbs there. They've loved him. They said he just gets the ball. Now you got some size out there. You got a true 6'6" guy. They've talked the least about Medford, but he's in the mix there because you got some other guys K-State that are been productive. So we'll see. Fans are a little bit pessimistic because idiots have been telling them that the receiver spot isn't better every year. So now why would they believe the same idiots? That's me. But the coaches are raving. The players are too.
Well, I want to hear y'all's biggest question marks going into the season. And I do want to briefly go back and talk about the offensive line a little bit more, like we did reference it. You have a lot of intriguing new pieces who have come in, like you said, specifically the kid from Penn State, JB Nelson, right? So an opportunity to improve that offensive line spot. But are y'all concerned at all about that offensive line being able to find cohesion quickly? Because I know, from a TCU perspective, right after that 2022 season, we're like, hey, we got to rebuild this offensive line. Well, we got in all these transfers. Surely you can just plug and play, right? Well, no, it didn't really work that way. So do y'all have any concerns as far as the offensive line finding that rhythm together?
Well, let's add a layer in there. They've got coaching change to that spot. Connor Riley moved in next door to you, I think, as offensive line coach of the Cowboys now. And Brian LePack takes over. He was the tight ends coach, offensive line background out of OU. They're excited about him and what he brings to the table. But you're right. Now you got a new coach and a bunch of new players. In total, they brought in 5 transfers on the offensive line. 1 left because he just couldn't cut it. And but all 4 are going to be in the rotation. The other 4, I think. The last 2 they added, John mentioned the Penn State guy. There's a Pitt guy. Both are starting caliber. That guy they call Fitz, and it wasn't me, and I'm still angry. George Fitzpatrick came in from Ohio State. He was the backup left tackle there, which means you could be an All-American. You're just behind a better All-American. But he's moved into that left tackle spot effortlessly for K-State. So they've really upgraded. But you're right. Being an offensive lineman isn't just about beating the guy across from you. It's a choreographed dance almost every play. And if you're out of step with your partners, then it's not going to go very smoothly. And so, yeah, finding that cohesion early, particularly when you just kick off in Dublin against Iowa State, the guy named Fitz should be pretty happy to be there. I will be, but it's going to be an early test because Iowa State is exceptionally well coached and they will throw a bunch of stuff at that line.
Yeah, they certainly will. They certainly will. Supposedly, it is a brand new group. All right, they haven't played together yet, so I'm excited to see how they gel. I've got my hunches about how good they can be, especially with the talented group of running backs K-State has as well. Quick note on top of that, DJ Giddens, he was the tallest back on the roster last year. He's gone. You're going to have a smaller lineup in terms of running backs with Joe Jackson, 6 foot, Dylan Edwards, 5'8". You also bring in Southeastern running back Antonio Martin at 5'11". So it's a small group. Whereas you look up at the beef up front, the Kansas beef. That's what we call it here, Clint. The Kansas beef. You got JB Nelson, 6'6", 325. Terrence Enos, 6'6", 317. John Pastore, 6'6", 300. At center, you got Sam Hecht, considered a small guy of a group, the smallest guy out of a lineman, 6'4", 287 pounds. You also got guys like Taylor Portier, Gus Hawkins, and George Fitzpatrick, as Fitz mentioned as well, 6'3", 306, and Andrew Langang, returning 6'3", 303 as well. So we might be witnessing one of the bigger offensive lines that K-State has ever had, at least two deep. You'd think back to the lines from a couple of years ago where you had the likes of KT Leviston, Cooper Beebe. Those are big lines, but I'd have to say this group is right up there. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of the days when Darren Sproles was running behind those big linemen. He was so small, he could just disappear behind them. And by the time the defense saw him, he was gone. Same goes with Deuce Vaughn. It was the same way, tiny but impossible to catch. So it's a massive offensive line, maybe the biggest we've ever seen at K-State. They've grown the stature and talent up front. And it's a great sign for the Wildcats. All they need now is just to mesh and gel together, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, the measurables are certainly there, like you're saying. I mean, this era of NIL is so fascinating in so many ways because so few teams are able to rely on the development cycle like they used to. I mean, that used to be TCU's bread and butter, right? You have like 2 years where you're building a team up, and then you have 2 years where you're really good, right? And then you do it over again. And it's like I say, I don't think it really works in a lot of cases. We'll see how it happens for K-State, but it doesn't really work to just plug and play. That's why I'm not really all that high on Texas Tech going into this season. You know, everyone is bloviating about, them spending all that oil money and bringing in literally every transfer in the portal. But I'm like, can you literally just turn over a roster completely and expect them to still be good? I don't know. But actually, do y'all have any thoughts as far as that's regarded before we jump into the schedule?
About Tech?
Well, just, Tech, the whole NIL, free agency of things.
Every program needs to manage this in what they think is their best way. But Kansas State basketball has made me a firm believer that if you're using NIL to just be the highest bidder and you're getting players that are going to the highest bidder, not anything other considerations, you're recruiting the wrong people. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with the decision-making of the Tech players, but that seems to be a possibility there. They paid a lot of money to get guys. Are they really invested in your program, Texas Tech fans, or are they just invested in the money that literally just went into their pocket? Mm-hmm. Kansas State, and I think Iowa State's doing it. Kansas, to a degree, is doing it. They're using NIL to retain, not let an Avery Johnson go, not let other guys, not let a Dylan Edwards go. And certainly there's players on defense that have had plenty of offers. And that's the worst part about NIL. We can all agree with that. These rogue agents that are just fishing that needs to be controlled more than anything. But I will be interested to see if Tech uses this approach to great effect, because I don't trust it. But then again, they could be really good. They have followed an SEC model. Now their fans think they're going to be in the SEC. I don't know where that came from. But will that work in the Big 12? Because most of the programs that are left are exactly what you said, Clint. There were developmental programs in this conference. Mm-hmm. And that means you're not getting consistently 4-star guys, let alone 5. And, you're getting in Kansas State's case, you get a walk-on like Brennan Mott, and a blue shirt like Felix Anudike-Uzama. And if you've seen their freshman photos, they look like they're in junior high. Yeah. And then they become all Big 12 linemen. Mm-hmm. That's the investment you have to make. And in the past, they've been able to do it at the offensive line, and I just don't think it worked out right. The downside of that is now everyone's thinking every 3-star in Kansas might be a 4-star, and there's a lot of schools in here recruiting because of the success Kansas State's had, and then Kansas having some success with Devin Neal and guys like that. But it's again, you've got to be able to develop in these towns, and if you develop, then keeping them is the thing, because there's nothing more maddening than developing a player, and as soon as he shows some success, the offers roll in.
Yeah.
Shouldn't happen that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, Brownie has officially entered the chat. We let
Oh,
Kansas
man.
State fans on this show, and I've got the schedule pulled up. Let's talk about that Iowa State game in Dublin, 11 a.m. tilt to start the season. First of all, what are y'all's thoughts about playing in Ireland? Are you excited about Farmageddon being in Ireland? Do you think it's absurd? Where are you at on this whole thing?
Go, John.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Clint, I'll give you the rundown when I come back from Dublin. We're going to spend 14 days over there, part of a
Okay.
study abroad that we're having at the university as well. So it should be fun. I'm very
Good
much
for you.
looking forward to it. You got like Belfast to the north, Galway to the west. We're going all over Ireland before August 23rd. The game itself, I would have to say this one, I heard rumbles about it. I remember Fitz mentioning it at one point last year on one of the podcasts. I was like, oh, Iowa State. I don't know how it would work, but lo and behold, it works. I'm glad to see everything paid off in regards to how they were able to set everything up prior to the full announcement. And boy, talk about an exposure opportunity for the Big 12. Week 0, you got 2 teams that should be ranked in the top 25. The coaching pedigrees with Matt Campbell and Chris Kleiman. Just going at it. It's a unique opportunity for the student athletes as well. Should be very fun, very exciting. I don't know if I'd consider it a fork on the road kind of game because on one hand, you're starting off 0-1 in conference play, especially conference play. Like that's going to be a real significant portion. But on the other hand, you still got a whole lot of season left. You also got a third bye there to go along with that too. So it should be fun. It should be very interesting to see how things kind of mesh together over there in Ireland. And just kind of seeing the response from playing after the game as well, considering with the jet lag and both teams are playing FCS teams a week later on. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to say the very least.
Yeah, I'm fired up. Being of Irish heritage, never being there, going there in the past, and honestly, without this game, it probably wouldn't have happened. But I'm glad I get to do it. I'm glad the company gets to pay for it because it ain't cheap.
Yeah.
But this is a great matchup. And as much as it benefits Kansas State and Iowa State, because it'll give their brands exposure, and both brands have a little bit of traction. There's a lot of brands like that in the Big 12. TCU would fit that too, that are kind of on the cusp of maybe, becoming a bigger deal than what they are. So this is really good for both schools, but boy, what a showcase for the Big 12, because this league plays highly competitive, entertaining football. And the disparity in the other 2 main conferences, sorry, ACC, you suck. Sorry, Mark, didn't mean to say that on your show. Look, there's a huge gap from the top to the bottom in those conferences. You get a lot of blowouts.
Yeah.
You get some ugly games. You don't get a whole lot of that in the Big 12. You get what you would consider a lower level team rolling into maybe a higher echelon team and winning because it is so competitive and entertaining. So I hope the game's really good because it will be the national stage on that day. And that's why it's important. I'm a fan of taking the Big 12 brand all over the world. I'm a fan of Big 12 in Mexico if they find the right place and can secure it. Go play in Canada for goodness sakes. But I don't know. I just think this is a huge opportunity for the conference as much as the 2 schools.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bummer because K-State loses a home game, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, that really sucks for fans. That's one thing that TCU fans are upset about with our game in Ireland next year, that and the fact that we literally are physically incapable of hosting a marquee opponent at home. It does not happen. But yeah, the TV piece, yeah, it's a opportunity for the Big 12 to make a statement, and especially with this being a conference game and a historic rivalry. Yeah, I'm gonna be watching. Believe I'm gonna be watching. I'll find myself a Guinness and watch for sure. But as you look at this schedule, definitely, I feel like I'm catching the vibe. Manhattan, like so many other places in the Big 12 this year, there's a real Arlington or bust vibe, right? Yeah. Kansas State's in that conversation. Arizona State's in that conversation. BYU. I think you could make an argument Baylor and TCU are in that conversation. There's a lot of teams, Iowa State, that can compete for a Big 12 title this year. And Kansas State has a very nice schedule that lines up very nicely for them to do it. that October going into November 1st is a little spicy, but for the most part, you got a bye week in there before Kansas, so that's really nice. What are y'all's overall thoughts on the schedule?
No, John mentioned it. The off weeks become intriguing, and off Saturdays. I mean, you play Arizona now again on a Friday. I'm not going to know what to do with myself with so, and it's about me. What to do with myself on so many
I
off
feel
Saturdays.
the same way.
Yeah, this happened. I can't remember how many years ago. There was like 4 Saturdays that were open between buys and Thursday game or Friday game. I watched more college football that season than I ever had. And, because in our careers, people don't understand this. When you cover college football, you don't watch as much because you're getting ready to go to the game you're covering. You're sitting at the game you're covering. You're trying to pay attention to other games, but you're focused. And then after the game, you're reporting and writing and videoing and all that stuff. And before you know it, the day's over and you're relying on ESPN to get to all your highlights.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be fun being able to watch that. And I to have days when I can watch Big 12 football from 11 a.m. till I can't stay up anymore because BYU is playing someone. It's going to be a blast. The season's going to be fun, but I like K-State's schedule. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, you got a very favorable schedule at home, especially kind of towards the early portions where you're not getting the likes of BYU or Arizona State, either home or on the road. So K-State kind of dodges a bullet when you get several of these bigger teams. We'll see how Texas Tech plays out and everything with the transfer portal and NIL and how they're able to set things up. I have said on record, I'll believe it when I see it from Texas Tech. Just mainly concerned with the fact that Joey McGuire has not gotten over the 8-win threshold just yet. I was expecting that he would have done sooner by now. I suppose probably Texas Tech and TCU are probably the most difficult games in terms of a home slate for K-State. TCU,
get them at home, like you said.
I think Josh Hoover may be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the Big 12. Not even exaggerating. Just the way he's able to run from one side of the field to another, the way he's able to sling it. I think that's going to present a little bit of an interesting case at Bill Snyder Family Stadium as well. Colorado, I think Colorado's going to take a little bit of a step back as well. You're losing your top key playmakers. The lines have not shown any signs of improvement throughout last year as well. Fitz, I'm really excited for the Army game. I'm very, very excited for Army. Full disclosure for folks who don't know, it'll be Fort Riley Day, where we honor the men and women who serve the country, and we have a little soldier base just 20 minutes down the road.
Big.
They might be supporting the opposing team, which is kind of a rarity on Fort Riley Day, but and then looking at the other home game, UCF. I don't know if I'm expecting too much from Scott Frost, and my sister's wedding is on that day, so it's like anyways.
Hey, John, after the show, send me your sister's number. I got some stuff to say to her.
I've already tried.
These fall weddings.
I tried.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm a groomsman in a fall wedding in November, and I'm just like, I love you, man, but
it's like when they say it's during the fall, you just immediately slam it, and you just don't want to talk to them forever.
It is the Sunday after the BYU game, luckily, so it's it's not on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
call me radical, but I think fall weddings are a valid reason for deportation. Send them out of the country.
Add it to the list.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I mean, this is, it's such a doable schedule. And like you were saying, John, I mean, even in that section that I said is a little bit spicy, I mean, the 2 road games are arguably the 2 easiest places that you could possibly play of those 4 teams, right? You get Tech at home, you get TCU at home. Oklahoma State, I mean, is Oklahoma State ever going to be good again? I don't know. I feel Stillwater's still not a fun place to play, but they're just not very good. I guess Utah could be better. That game could get interesting.
Well, when you look at that Oklahoma State game, it just kind of felt. Well, Oklahoma State, I believe, has a bye 2 to go along with it. But 2 years ago, they got obliterated by South Alabama, and we were all heading into this one thinking, "Oh my goodness!" Well, K-State, if there's any opportunity to finally win in Stillwater, what was it? Fitz, K-State's won 2 times since in the 20th century against Oklahoma State.
It's
not a whole lot of history there. And Will Howard, it was arguably one of his worst games. during the 2023 season. I had to cover that game. It was gruesome to say the very least. Great atmosphere nonetheless, but that's kind of concerning. We'll see how Oklahoma State is. I think they're kind of one of the wild cards this upcoming year in conference play. And then on top of that, you're visiting Rice-Eccles Stadium, first time ever. If the experience in Provo with the altitude and everything says what it could indicate, that could be a little bit troubling as well. We'll see what Dan Pierre is able to do, transfer from New Mexico. I mean, on top of that, the Sunflower Showdown. I mean, Baylor's supposed to be pretty good too. So it's kind of it's a difficult road slate, but looking at kind of a scale of his conference, it's very manageable for K-State.
Yeah, Baylor will be good next year. I just mean to say that McLean Stadium is not a exceptionally hostile environment. It's not a very tough place to play, I don't think.
Nope.
So I actually just looked it up. Last time K-State won in Stillwater was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're often really fun, entertaining games.
Oh, they
particularly their home team because they win. But it's a fun rivalry. I don't know what the hell last season was about. Now they've done the portal thing, and we'll see if it works for Oklahoma State. I hope so.
Yeah.
Any guy that can pull off an adult mullet. I mean, how do you not love him?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so make a call right now. Do you see the Wildcats in Arlington? Who is your prediction for who's playing for the Big 12 championship in 2025?
I'm on the record because it's the Big 12. I'm going with UCF and Cincinnati because stutter chaos.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Like Arizona State. If I said that Arizona State a year ago, everyone would have gone, "You're so stupid."
Like, fire this guy. What's he doing?
I do, and this is what's entertaining. I genuinely believe Farmageddon in Dublin could be the championship game.
Truly,
yeah,
which would be wildly odd and kind of incredible. I think they might be the two best teams. I'm a huge Rocco Beck fan, there's other good teams. There certainly are, but Arizona State's going to be really good. BYU is going to be good. But I think it could be Farmageddon after Farmageddon. I don't know. We'll find out.
Farmageddon. Hey, they've had a Farmageddon over there already, right? It's just not fair that we're doing it to them again, right?
We just got corn, wheat, and now potatoes.
Yes.
It'd be another indication that Brett Yormark and company screwed the pooch when it came to scheduling. It was like, well, we got this game twice now, one season, and both these fans' faces just hate each other so much. Like, what are we doing here? I've gone so many tangents about not scheduling each other in 2027. Absolute disgrace. But nonetheless, I think if K-State's able to keep things consistent, especially with the growth and development of Avery Johnson, I think that's kind of a key here. Avery Johnson taking the next step as a quarterback. I think the staff has done everything right from a roster construction standpoint. They've stacked talent across every position group, reloaded in key areas. I think they put themselves in a spot to contend for the Big 12 championship. I'm sure a lot of media pundits around here, Fitz, I'm sure you could probably agree, but we were kind of looking at 2025 as kind of the year for K-State to sort of break out. I'm still holding under that impression as well. I think K-State will be one of those teams. In terms of the other squad, well, the more I looked at Texas Tech's schedule, the more I see how favorable it is. We got a week 4 game at Utah, so it'll be interesting to see how they do there. But I'm going to go with the safe pick here, and I'm going to go with whoever's preseason pick 16th in the Big 12.
Yes. That works for me. Gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging out on a Tuesday night. This has been Kansas State Night. Rawr.
That was good.
Okay, pretty good. Yeah, so, gentlemen, tell the people where they can find you.
John.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this was amazing. This show was the best thing to happen to me since Super Bowl 50. This is like a Christmas story where a guy won a lake lamp. All right, this is unbelievable. The best mid-May K-State football preview, KU Stadium discussion, Tuesday night live stream show in the history of YouTube. Huge shout out, of course, to Clint Foster, keeping the great content coming with the voice of college football. Of course, Fitz, one of the most iconic names in Manhattan. Heck, finals week has had me all over the place. I forgot to mention this earlier, but this summer I'm pumped to be working with Gil Powercat, 24/7 Sports. I'll be teaming up with Fitz McCrew, diving deep into everything K-State and Big 12 sports, writing articles, dropping hot takes on the camera like I did tonight, stirring up a little chaos. So it's shaping up to be an awesome ride. And you guys can catch me on John Grovo2 on Twitter or the X, as you can see down below. This is a great show, man. Great people here on the panel. I had a really fun time.
I only bring the best. Fitz, where can the people find you?
GoPowerCat.com on 24/7 Sports or YouTube. Also here we got a channel. We got Big 12 Insiders channel. I love covering the Big 12. I'm glad this show is another one of the outstanding Big 12 shows. The Big 12 media has made their own media. The national media might want to ignore the Big 12 to a degree, but fans have a lot of great information from shows just like this.
Yes. Yes.
100%.
This is the People's Conference. And that's why I need you to subscribe at Big 12 VOCFB. There it is right there. Help me get to 1,000. Help us do this thing. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and my personal YouTube channel at Clint Foster Creations. The documentary's in a film festival now, so that's exciting. I'm also working on an official premiere date, and then I'll unleash it into the world for all of you to see it. Please do check out the Voice of College Football on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's at VOCFB. It's very easy to find. And catch the Biggest 12 live on your favorite audio platform. So until next week, which next week is going to be Oklahoma State night. Speaking of Stillwater, until next week, I love you. I hope your team wins. And go Big 12. EMAW, yes. There we go. That's it.
That's it.
See y'all around.